Genshin Impact used to have a very simple value proposition. You pull for the characters you like, you build them, you clear content, maybe you want meta, maybe you don't, but you can play the game. But that is not true anymore. And Syndrome, the newest Harbinger releasing in 6.6, is the perfect example of why. Not because she's bad, but because she makes something visible that's been happening quietly for a while now. Genshin has started locking gameplay mechanics behind specific characters and regions. And if you don't pull them, you don't get to play the game anymore. This isn't a phase. This is Genshin's business model now. Let's talk about Sandra. She's the new 5-star cryo from Shazaya, and she's bringing something new with her. A reaction called Stellar Conduct. For what we know so far, Stellar Conduct is a brand new reaction that works specifically only with Syndrome. But here's the thing, Stellar Conduct is not just one reaction. Stellar Conduct is part of a new full reaction system that's gonna be released in Snezhnaya. The same way Lunar reactions work and were released in Northcry. And if this pattern holds, that means stellar reactions are gonna be once again locked behind the 5 stars of Snezhnaya. The whole game is gonna be once again shaped around the new meta of stellar reactions. And if you don't have these specific characters to activate the reactions, you're not gonna be able to complete several things in the game anymore. Now, to be fair, Stellar Conduct does come with some buffs for all the characters. Yaemuko gets longer skill duration, Chichi finally has 100% skill uptime, Riesli gets finally extra damage on his normal attacks and general charge attacks. On paper, it truly is nice that Hoyo is finally giving this character some love. But here's the catch. Yes, you do have some parts of these buffs that are general for the characters themselves that you can use. However, the other buffs, you need to be using Stellar Conduct within your team. Specifically, they only activate when they're inside a Stellar Conduct field. And right now, only Syndrome can create that field. These characters cannot generate it themselves. So yes, it is nice that all the characters get something, but it is still a system designed to make you pull, which actually is very similar to something that was previously released in Genshin, the Witch's Homework. That system buffed several characters from Monsat and actually changed their kits. Meaningful buffs that made all characters semi-viable again. And another good part is that Witch's Homework only required 2 Hexerite characters on your team to activate the whole bonus. You could mix and match, you could build teams that actually felt flexible, you weren't locked in into using one specific character to access these buffs. However, for Stellar Conduct, this is the exact opposite. Yes, eventually we're probably gonna have a very good stellar buffer that is gonna definitely make these older characters like Riesli really shine in the team. But again, point is, this is a system that Genshin made that makes you want to pull. If Riz is your favorite character and you really want to make him play, you are gonna need to pull that future stellar reaction buffers in Snezhnaya in order to make him viable again. And the other thing that I want to mention is yes, Traveler will be able to activate stellar reactions in itself. And yeah, that is truly good. But realistically, I do not think we should hype them up for making him do this when he is the main character of the story. He should be able to activate the reactions within the new regions that he travels to. That should not be something that we're surprised that Hoyoverse is doing for us. And if you don't pull the Shazayan characters, you're gonna be locked out of this entire system. Sounds familiar? Because it should. Because that's exactly what Northcry did with Lunar reactions. And that brings us to the real issue. Because Syndrome and Stellar reactions aren't the full story. It's about what Northcry did to the game. When version 6.0 launched, Hoyoverse introduced Lunar reactions. Lunar Bloom, Lunar Charge, Lunar Crystallize. The main point is they deal significantly more damage. But here's the catch. You cannot trigger Lunar reactions with just any character. They are locked behind Northcry's 5 stars. For example, Inefa enables Lunar Charge, Lama and Nefer enable Lunar Bloom, Ziba enables Lunar Crystallize. You need these specific characters to even access this team. Basically, the way the Genshin created Northcry, it was designed to reward you for pulling multiple 5 stars from the same region in order to be able to do the things in the game. Now, you might be thinking, what about the 4 stars? Sure, there's a free the option where you can still activate Lunar, the Norkai 4 stars, they don't enable Lunar reactions on their own. Aina was given out for free during the 6.0 Archon quest, and her kit does not trigger Lunar reactions. You still need a 5-star. There's literally no free entry point. Think about how insane that actually is. Genshin added an entire new combat system, locked in behind 5-star characters. Not these characters are good at it. You literally cannot play the game without this specific characters and these specific reactions, and that is not a power creep. That is a paywall. And the endgame is being written literally around the system. The Spiral Business Blasts, for example, are all focused on lunar damage. World events in Northcry require specific characters to complete. Not this makes it easier, it is required. Stingen as well, if you literally don't have the specific teams, you cannot do anything in the game. The game is actively designing content that punishes you for not pulling every single character. Let me be clear, in early Genshin times, pulling a character was about making your account stronger. But in Northcry, pulling a character is about not being locked out of the content. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. It's a gacha game. Of course you're supposed to pull new characters. But that is not the problem that I'm talking about here. The problem is when the game actively punishes you for not pulling every single character. Not just by making the content harder just as a late game, which of course will be more difficult as it is late game content, but literally inaccessible to any player, even new or old. We're not talking about a few extra stars on the Abyss. We're talking about the entire combat systems you cannot interact with, events you cannot complete, exploration mechanics that require specific characters to even function, and things in the exploration that you cannot do without this character. When late game content is locked behind new mechanics, that's one thing. When events are locked out behind them, that's another. But when it comes to even exploration, the one thing that should be accessible to absolutely everyone, that is when the issue really stands. Punishing players for not pulling every single character should not be the standard in any gacha game. Not in Genshin, not anywhere. And this isn't the first time we see this. Natlan did the same thing with Night Soul. Exclusive mechanic, players who skipped were disadvantaged. And Natlan was only the beginning, because now they did it again and harder with Northcry. Because at least Night Soul had some 4-star options, and it wasn't so deeply ingrained to the point where you could not play the game without these Natlan characters. Natlan exploration was still functional without the gimmick, although it was more fun with the characters from Natlan indeed. But Lunar reactions are almost entirely 5-star exclusive, and you can literally almost do nothing in the game anymore if you don't have Lunar reactions in the team. And let me not forget to add that before Natlan or even Northcry, you did not need specific characters for other characters to make viable teams, specifically from other regions. Everything felt just more flexible. Teams are much easier and funnier to create. You don't need every single newer character in order to be able to make teams that actually make sense and are viable. This isn't a mistake, it's a pattern, and patterns are intentional. So here we are. Northcry locked Lunar reactions behind 5 stars, and now Genshin is gonna do the same thing with stellar reactions in Shazaya. And you already know what comes next. First is Lunar, now it's Stellar, then you'll be whatever else Genshin cooks up next to make us pull. And each time, the barrier to be able to play the game gets a little higher. Genshin has figured out that the most profitable thing they can do is sell you the right way, and the only way play the game fully. And so far, nothing will stop. The only question remains, are you gonna accept it or not? Let me know what you think down in the comments, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.